Guide us, be with us, be our special guest, give us understanding, and all these things we pray in the name of Jesus Christ. Amen. Please be seated. Today we have two speakers, Dr. John and theologian Livio Tudoroy. They're going to present their subjects. And I'd like to invite Dr. John, and he's going to present us the subject on ageless living.
Thank you very much, and I'm very happy to be here again with you this evening. I think we're going to have an exciting time together. I feel like I'm in Colorado. What do you say? Do you like the snow? It's great. It's wonderful. Too bad we don't have any mountains here, huh? We could be thinking about maybe snowboarding or skiing. The subject I'd like to share with you this evening is ageless living. Does that sound interesting? Ageless living. Being able to live in such a manner and in such a manner that it seems like it's ageless. Now, if I told you that there was a medication available to you, that all you needed would be a single pill, it would be free, it would have no side effects, and it would help you live longer. It would help reduce degenerative diseases. Would you be interested? How many would be interested in that kind of a pill? You could live longer. You could find that you would be more resistant to degenerative diseases, and it would be free. Wouldn't that be great? Well, this evening I'm going to share just that kind of a pill with you. It's free, has no side effects, and the pill that I think is the one that everyone needs a prescription for life is exercise, okay? The exercise, a pill, a prescription for life. Because following this prescription, there are so many diseases that can be prevented and mitigated by just some very simple exercises that don't cost anything. There are hazards to inactivity. Did you know that? Hazards to inactivity. And we live in a society where everything is automated. We need remotes for everything, right? People watch TV, they don't get up to change the channels. Hit the remote. Remote for the garage door opener. Remote. You can drive home and have a remote and turn on the lights in your house. A remote can start your car. You don't even have to go put the key in, right? Warm it up, and there it is. Remotes for everything. And so what our society is experiencing is a lot of inactivity. People no longer go out and do things and engage their muscles. And there are hazards as a consequence of that. Here's a person experiencing the hazard of inactivity. See? Tired, comes home from work, lays down, falls asleep with what in her hand? A remote control, not doing anything. There are hazards to inactivity that relate to heart disease. Heart disease is affected a lot by our activities. Diabetes, osteoporosis, cancer. Did you know that cancer has an inactivity component? Anxiety and depression. These are some of the consequences of inactivity in the American way of living. Inactivity is as detrimental as smoking or having high cholesterol. Did you know that? People think, well, okay, I don't smoke, and my cholesterol level is good. But the hazards of inactivity equate or come very close to smoking or having high cholesterol levels. So for the package for longevity, we have to have more than one or two components in our lifestyle in order to be able to experience longevity and prevention for degenerative diseases. So here's Mr. Couch Potato. What is he doing? He doesn't smoke. He's healthy. Maybe even his cholesterol is good. He looks like he's a fairly young man. But he is inactive, and as a result of that, he exposes himself to health risks. There are many benefits for being active. Benefits relating to circulation. It lowers high blood pressure. When we're active, our circulatory system, the veins and the arteries are very elastic. The heart, which is a muscle, is exercised. It is very functional, and as a consequence, our blood pressures can be better. And is blood pressure a problem in America today? High blood pressure? It is. Many people suffer from high blood pressure when exercise could be very, very helpful. Prescription for that. With how many side effects? No side effects. So it's a very good consideration. It improves the circulation because as we exercise, our heart pumps faster, our circulatory system functions better, there's good elasticity, everything moves great, and it improves it. It lowers cholesterol, especially the bad cholesterol, and it elevates the good cholesterol. So exercise, may I suggest to you, is a prescription for life. No doctor needs to write it. You just need to fill it. Prescription for life. Exercise. Prescription for life. It lowers the resting pulse. You know, athletes like Lance Armstrong, their pulse is remarkably low. Now, you may never do the Tour de France. You may not be Lance Armstrong or some other Olympian or athlete, but you can still benefit from exercise. Your pulse is lowered. Now, why is that important to have a lower pulse? Let's take a little bit of a look at that. If your pulse is 80 beats per minute, you'd have approximately 42 million per year. All right? Now, let's say you exercise and your pulse is lowered just a little bit from 80 to 70. Now your beats per year are 36 million. A saving of approximately 5.25 million heartbeats. Now that's significant. What do we learn from this? The heart works less. It's more efficient. Just think of it this way. If you had a car and you turned up the idle on the engine, how efficient would that car run? You'd be burning more gas, right? Your miles per gallon, every time you come to a stoplight, you'd be jamming on the brake and the idle would be up and the car is trying to go and you're not running a very efficient automobile. So the idle has been set by the manufacturer at appropriate RPM and you leave it there. It functions well. It lasts longer. If a car was always revving, how long would it run? How long would it last? And it's just like your heart. Your heart is a muscle. And that muscle needs to be exercised. In many of our occupations, we just work on computers, we sit in the office, and we really do not have a very exercised lifestyle. And as a consequence, that muscle does not get the ability to develop properly. So here's a great saving. 5 million heartbeats per year if you can just lower your pulse. And that heart will last longer and will function better. There are mental benefits to exercise. Improves the sense of well-being. You feel so much better when you've exercised. How many of you exercise? Okay, I see a few hands. All right, great, you exercise. Don't you feel better after you've had an exercise session? You feel better. It's because there are certain endorphins released in your brain, in your body, your heart's functioning, your blood's moving, more oxygen's getting to the brain, so your brain thinks better. We just had a series in Denver. It was Food for Thought, and we looked at how foods affect your brain. But your heart and its function and exercise also affects your brain from a circulatory perspective. Increases the efficiency and endurance, lifts depression, and reduces stress. Isn't that great? Aren't we living in a very stressful lifestyle, stressful age? A lot of stressors. Anything we can do, as opposed to getting a prescription for Prozac or some other medications, are very, very beneficial in helping us cope with everyday life. Look at this guy. He's coming from the office. His tie is flying in the air. His laptop is under his arm. He's got no stress. Why? He's exercised. And even the way he's moving, look at that. His feet are barely touching the ground. He is experiencing the benefit and the stress reduction as a consequence of exercise. Improves the quality of sleep. You can sleep so much better. So many people are suffering from sleep disorders. They can't rest. They can't get to sleep. They don't have a deep sleep. Exercise is very, very beneficial. It helps with weight control. See? When you exercise well, you reset, if you will, especially if you do it in the morning. And by the way, I think exercise, personally, I think should be in the morning. Because when you get up in the morning and you do your exercises right away, it helps you raise your metabolic rate for a short period of time, resets you, if you will, burns more calories, helps with weight control, helps with appetite control, and it gives you so much more energy during the day. So much better in all ways of life. Even helps your immune system. I'll tell you, I do this myself. When I feel a cold coming on, you know what I do? Now, I live out in the country on a ranch. You know what I do? I go out and chop some wood. Get some extra exercise. And many times, I don't know if it's the mental part, psychological, or the exercise, I don't come down with the cold. I'm able to somehow work through it. Maybe I've raised the blood pressure or the temperature or all these things, and the immune system is stimulated, and many times I'm able to fight off a cold or something that is coming my way. It lowers your insulin requirements. Require less insulin. Helps metabolize the blood sugars better. Strengthens the bones. So many people, especially women, are suffering from osteoporosis or osteopenia. Exercise is a wonderful prescription to help that. See, here we're looking at the bones of the foot. You can see here the trabecular pattern in the bone. Bone is laid down in a manner that follows the stressors on that bone. If the bone is not stressed, the body says, hey, we don't need this calcium here. So some of it is pulled out. Make the analogy this way. It's like if you use your hands a lot, your skin, calluses build up, right? As a compensatory mechanism to compensate for the wear and tear to your skin. If your bones are stressed by the gravitational forces that are put upon them through exercise, okay, I'm not talking high-impact exercises, low-impact exercises, but they're stimulated, then the body will compensate by laying down more bone. And you may think, I'm a young person, I'm just a teenager. I don't need to do that. Yes, you do. Think of it like retirement. If you're only going to put retirement money into the retirement account when you're 64, how much are you going to have when you turn 65? Not very much. There's no reserve. So the time to put money into a retirement account is when you are younger, so that there's more there for you when you need it. The same analogy with bone density. I believe we should get all the bone density we can, male or female, by the way, because osteoporosis is becoming a problem for males. Did you know that? Males also have bone density loss. They just have a higher bone density to start with, so they can afford to lose more. And so they don't come to that stage of osteoporosis or osteopenia as readily, while women have a lighter bone density. So osteoporosis is a more inevitable consequence of aging and hormonal change. So the idea is to get as much bone density as you can when you're young, so that when you lose some bone density, it doesn't take you into the stage of osteopenia where your bones become brittle or fragile without sufficient trabecular structure. Now, this is a very interesting study that was done. This study was done on people between the ages of 20 and 82. And what they looked at was 3 categories of individuals. One category, exercised. They were very fit. The other category was Mr. Couch Potato. He doesn't do anything but just plop himself down on the couch. That's his mission in life. And then there was another group. This group was unfit like Mr. Couch Potato, but they came to a seminar like today, and they realized that exercise is a wonderful and free prescription for life. So they changed their lifestyle, and they began to exercise. Now let's look at the outcomes of these 3 categories. Mr. Couch Potato, the person who came to a seminar and decided to change their lifestyle, and the athletic type person. And let's look at how it relates to their outcomes as it relates to longevity. Death rate per 10,000. Well, we would expect Mr. Fit, the death rate per 10,000 was 40. Sounds pretty good. Let's look at the unfit. All right? Mr. Couch Potato. Look at his death rate. Almost 3 times higher. Exercise helps you live longer. Not only does it help you live better, but it helps you live longer. And isn't that the concept of life? I mean, don't we want to live longer, better, and be more fit? Now, here comes the outcome. This was done 10 years later, okay? This was a 10-year study, by the way. How about the group of people that came to a seminar and realized, wow, I'm going to make a lifestyle change that's really good for me, and I'm going to start getting fit. Look what happened to them. They improved by almost 50%. And that's the good news. I think it's great. Whether you're fit or you're unfit, there is the possibility to achieve better longevity by taking this prescription. Free, no side effects. I'm convinced you're going to decide to do this from today on and start a new habit of exercising regularly and almost daily. Okay? Wonderful outcome. There it is. Exercise cuts the numbers of death from all causes in half. Now, here's the chart, and I believe I got this from the Centers of Disease Control, the CDC, that scared me when I looked at it. But you know what? I have started exercising regularly not too long ago. I'm this kind of person that, I'm pretty physically active in the things I do in my everyday life. And I didn't think I needed to exercise that much because, I work already around on the ranch and I do this and I do that. And when I come home, I'm tired. My wife, she exercises and I say, well, honey, I've exercised all day. So I don't need any more exercise. But when I looked at this, I saw something that really spoke to me, and I think it will to you too, no matter where you're at. If we look at vigor from a percent perspective, we want to keep the vigor of our life high. It's not how long you live, it's the quality of how you live, how fit you live, how functional you live. There are lots of people that live to be 100 years old in a nursing home, and they can't do anything. That's not my style of living. How about you? I want to live long, and I want to live well, and I want to live functionally, where I'm able to do things and enjoy life and participate in life. When I look at this chart, I see, the fun stage goes from about 20, and it cuts off here about, 56, 57, 55. That's not fun. You mean after 55, fun ends? Now, I see there's some of you in here that are that old and maybe older, or maybe approaching that. You don't want the fun to be over, do you? You want the fun to continue. I don't want to just be functional. I want to have fun and be functional. Do you? How many want to be functional and have fun? Yes, I do too. Now, as vigor goes down to a certain point, the fun stops and the function starts. So now you are just functional. And after a period of time, you see you go down over here, not too much further, the function quits. It's still in the 60, and the frailty starts. And then after frailty is failure. And that is the pathway of life for most Americans. They go from fun to function to frailty to failure. And yes, they may live a long time, but that isn't living. Exercise helps to prevent this from occurring in this type of a manner. Now, we all go from fun to failure. It's just, how does the graph look? Do you see that exercise could redesign the curve of this graph? By doing this, if the fun didn't drop off so suddenly right here. And by the way, you'll notice that after about 30-something, physical vigor and physical capability starts dropping off very quickly. And you know what I find very interesting for those that are young in here around 30? That's about the stage of life where you now have your kids and your job and all of that. And what happens just right at the peak of all of this occurring, your body, as it relates to its peak development, starts dropping off. Exercise will help to extend the curve, so rather than going quickly like this, it will progress a little bit more gradually like that. You see? And doing that makes a difference in your life. Now, I want that for me. Do you want that for you? I think that's the way to live. And exercise can provide that. You see, what happens as we get a little older, we kind of create for ourselves a, how will I put this? A self-confined restriction. We do certain things every day. Remember, we're creatures of habit. We do things in the same way, and we start losing the functionality, the flexibility, as well as the range of motion of certain muscle groups and certain joints, just because of our limited lifestyle. We do just certain things all the time, and we lose that. I found that out when I started exercising. I found that out. I thought I was pretty good. I can do this, that, and the other. But you know, when I started doing different movements and different muscle groups, I found out I was terribly deconditioned. Terribly deconditioned. And I realized that, you know what, there's a lot of benefit to this exercise. Let me tell you an experience I had just 2 days ago. 2 days ago, I had a real bad fall. I fell down. I was at our place. It was there was a slippery slope. It was very icy. Now, I grew up in Canada. I know what to look for ice. But I was kind of in a hurry. I had to do something. And I got on the slope here, and I didn't see that I stepped on a patch of ice. And I never had much understanding for patients coming in. You know, they tell me they come in and they fell down, they hurt their back. Well, why didn't you just fall down and sit on your butt and everything would have been okay? Why did you fall like this? I never understood. Now I have a better appreciation after I fell down. You know, I came on this slope, and I was going down to the barn to check on my horses, and I stepped on a patch of ice that was sloped like that, and the next thing I knew, I landed on about T3 to T6, right up here, close to my neck. I went just like this. From standing like this, I went down like that. Before I could bat an eye. I didn't land on my bottom. I didn't land on anything else. And fortunately, I didn't land on my head. If I'd have landed on my head, I might have ended up in ER. Okay? Now, what helped me, I think, to handle that fall much better, and I mean, I went down really hard. I still have pain in my back. But what helped me were some quick movements. Like my head never really hit the ice. Now, I had developed major SCM strain because, you know, I was going into hyperextension and my head was trying to hold back from whipping back onto the concrete where the ice was. So I developed some SCM strain. My latissimus dorsi was hurting like crazy because I flung my hands back to try to break the fall, and of course I took some on the elbows, which then threw me back onto the upper T-spine. And I landed there on the spinous processes on this ice. So now I know why sometimes people, you know, fall in some funny ways. So I have a better understanding for patients. But not only that, if I hadn't exercised in a regular manner, I don't think I would have responded as quickly as I did and handled that fall. I mean, it knocked me out. I couldn't even breathe for a while there when I came down like that. But in my exercises, what I do, and I'll just share this with you real quickly here, I try to take in all forms of motion. We need to bring all muscles into action. I think walking is one of the best exercises. Okay? It's free, it's inexpensive, you don't have to pay a gym membership, it's very simple and great to do. But I don't think walking is enough, because when you're walking, you're just using certain limited muscle groups, okay? You're just going in one way, all right? So what I do is I do all kinds of angulations, because one of the number one causes of decline in aging people is when they fall, and that's usually as a consequence of destabilization. Okay, they need to have gait stabilization and gait training and these types of things where different muscle groups can compensate. So when I walk, you can do this inside your home. You can walk in a straight line, then you can walk backwards. Okay, so you can walk forward in a straight line, you can come backwards. See, you're engaging muscles that you don't normally use. Then you walk on an angulation this way. You come back. You go this way. You do side steps. I do all this stuff. I do, flexion, extension, side movements, all of these things. I use all the muscle groups. It just takes a few minutes of the day to do that. And you'd be amazed when you do these simple range of motion exercises. I don't care what age you're at, unless you're a little kid, how much flexibility you have already lost and how much you can get back. You'd be amazed what you can do. You'd be amazed at how you find muscle groups that are like really weak. You may be a real strong person. It's because you never use them. See? We're creatures now that are so sedentary. We don't do things. We need to get up, get into motion, and use all the muscle groups that God gave us, put into our system. And when we do that, we find out we will have greater stability in walking and ambulation and gait and all of these things, and greater flexibility, and it will help with this curve. Okay? Here's a statistic on diabetes. Diabetes is a terrible problem in America, and it shows that 1 in 3 in the year 2000 will probably have to deal with diabetes. And there's all kinds of research. I don't have time to share this all with you, but there's all kinds of research that relates to diabetes and how it can be helped by exercise. Okay? Here's a study that I picked up very recently, and it shares that if Americans don't eat better and don't exercise more, the cases of diabetes by 2034 are going to double. Diabetes is on an incline tremendously. These cases are going to double. And what type of diabetes are we talking about? Type 2, which it's something you can do. You can do something about it. And exercise is one of those modalities that can help you. It's going to double. Type 2 diabetes comprises about 95% of all the diabetes. Let me just share some statistics, how they projected diabetes and how it's going way above all the projections. In 1991, the U.S. projected that there would be 65 million cases by 1987. There were 11.6. Okay? And that by 2030, there's going to be 23.7 million, and we're more than halfway there already. So statistics are being bypassed by the reality of the condition. Blood pressure. Okay, blood pressure now is a problem with how many people? Half of Americans between the age of 55 and 64 have a blood pressure problem. Exercise can help those. There's plenty of statistics here. We don't have time to look at them all, but you can do so much by taking the prescription of exercise for life. You start it, and you will never quit. You will quit when you have your last breath, and you'll be flexible and able to do all of the things you want to do. Here's a study on breast cancer. Let's just look at the conclusion. Physical activity during leisure time and at work is associated with a reduced risk of breast cancer. You see, we think exercise is just for staying trim. No, it's not. It's for all kinds of chronic diseases. That's why I say it's a prescription, and you need to take it for the rest of your life. Heart disease and exercise, a study done here. Look what it showed. Walking briskly, 3 to 4 mph. All right? Look what it does. Look how it reduces the cases of death as it relates to cardiovascular conditions. Let's look at stroke. Walking 3 mph, 2.5 hours per week, it lowers the risk 24%. Now, if you increase that 3 mph to 5 hours a week, it reduces it by 46%. What a wonderful prescription. It's cheap. I I hope you're deciding to make some choices, to change your lifestyle, and to follow through with it. Angioplasty. There's conclusions here, how it's very, very beneficial to help. Let me just share with you a study that I got on angioplasty just a few days ago. It's been now a week or two ago. This came from the European Society of Cardiology. They found in an angioplasty study that 90% of heart patients, 90%, I mean, is that a significant number? It is. It's not like 30%, 40%, 90% of cardiac patients that did their exercise were better instead of only 70% who had angioplasty. And how much did that prescription cost? The angioplasty versus the exercise prescription. So in this European study, it says that actually the exercise approach to heart conditions that require angioplasty are actually better than having the angioplasty. Because angioplasty fixes what? Only one blood vessel, only the blood vessel that you're working on. Exercise fixes how much? It has an effect on all the arteries and blood vessels of the body. You see the benefits of doing your exercises and doing them regularly. And so I encourage you to make a decision to walk. Use the opportunities to walk. When you go shopping, where are you going to park your car? Not as close to the store as possible. Park the car as far as possible from the store, and then what are you going to do? Walk. If you're going into a building and you're going to the 3rd floor, 4th floor, 5th floor, how about making a choice? You're going to take the stairs, all right? As opposed to the elevator, all righty? You take the stairs. You make some of these choices. If you're going to do something in the house that requires a remote, throw away your remote and decide to go to the apparatus and do things manually. Maybe even you'll discard the garage door opener and you'll get out of the car and open your garage door. Okay? Make some of these choices. Make some of these choices. And don't make any excuses. Okay? Make the decision to make a choice. Use the stairs. Choose all kinds of things that are very helpful to exercise your body. They may be some sport, they may be a water sport, it may be gardening or some outdoor activity. These are ways to have beneficial exercise. I think gardening is a very beneficial thing. You're out in nature, you can experience the benefits of doing things there, and it also has great flexibility in using your muscles. And so for each of you this evening, I don't believe this is a sunset, but this is a sunrise for a new beginning for you. A sunrise. You can choose to make this lifestyle choice in your life. To choose now to use your muscles for flexibility, for range of motion, to maintain longevity, live longer. There's wonderful studies on that. If you'd like to read one of them, the National Geographic, November 2005, has an interesting study on the blue zone and the peoples that are in those areas. And you can read those studies. One of the major components for those people is they exercise. So this is a new beginning for you. I know you're going to decide to exercise, and you're going to reap all of the benefits of doing that. And so I wish you all well. I hope you live long. Your days are filled with peace and joy and flexibility and vigor so that your life is fun and not just functional and then ends in frailty and ultimately in death. May the Lord richly bless you all. Thank you. As we're preparing for the next lecture, I'd like to share just a couple of things with you. One of them is we don't want to make excuses, right? You know, in life we come to a certain decision, and then we realize that, you know what, I don't know that I want to do this. I'm not going to have a we come up with all kinds of excuses. You know what I'm talking about?